It Out Tuesday with licensed professional counselor Unetta Spring.
All right, y'all, Rickey about the morning show. It's Talking Out Tuesday. I'm so excited. Y'all, please help me welcome licensed professional counselor Unetta Spring. Unetta, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Rickey. Good morning, y'all. How y'all doing?
Hey, we doing good. We are so happy to have you because Lord knows we need therapy. And, man, let's jump right into it.
You know, we talked about the Karen complex a couple weeks ago. There was someone on social that reached out and was like, you know, looking at this Karen complex, I'm starting to notice, like, the Kiki complex in me. And it was a black woman. She said she was kind of looking at herself differently after hearing about the Karen complex. So I thought that was pretty cool for us to, like, get into.
Oh, yeah. I hadn't had the Karen, but I get the Kiki all the time. Defensive, rude, loud, ready to argue, ready to disagree. And talking with their hands, grabbing air. What's up with that?
Grabbing air. Okay, so one thing I think is important is that, like, although the behavior may be similar, the situation is different. So both Karen and Kiki, and we're just classifying this so we can kind of understand this, you know, what this looks like.
Right.
Both of them are seeking control, but Karen wants to have power, and Kiki is tired of feeling powerless. So it's very different. So Karen is an entitled white woman who thinks the world revolves around her, and Kiki more so is that angry black woman who knows that the world doesn't. So this stereotype, you know, it can be damaging because when we're looking at an angry black woman stereotype, like, that goal is to silence the demographic that has already been oppressed. But the Karen stereotype has a different agenda, right? That stereotype is kind of to inform individuals of, like, potential oppressors or, you know, people who are, like, racist. So it's similar, but because we all have the same system and nervous system, but it's very different in how it shows up.
Yeah, so we're talking about Kikis and I guess Kenkens too. Like, can you just talk about some of the more psychological reasons that they would be suffering from this complex?
So it's several reasons. It really depends on the person, place, and the situation. But when I look at it from that psychological perspective, if we break it down, what we're looking at is hypervigilance, right? And hypervigilance is a trauma response. And this is when you become very alert to danger or threat. You have a high startle response. You feel like you expect the worst, and then people need to prove, you know, the best. So people who are hypervigilant, they're, like, constantly checking their environment for safety. They're constantly expecting danger, and they feel threatened when they experience something that feels familiar. So in a lot of cases, Kiki is navigating what I call, like, an inferiority wound, and it becomes activated every time she feels like somebody is trying to play her.
So we're speaking to licensed professional counselor, Ms. Unetta Spring. So, Unetta, how does dealing with oppression, racism, or Karenism impact our mental health?
Yeah. So it's racial trauma oftentimes is like a slow injury. So it causes, like, that psychological distress, depression, anxiety. It can cause us to question our value and self-worth. And I think it's important to look at how, you know, mental health is also coupled with our physical health, right? So when we have stress, like, stored in our body, it literally compromises our immune system, right? So we can't fight off disease because our body is busy fighting off oppression and racism and stress and things to that nature. So I think it's important that we know it's not just in our head, like, this stuff gets stored in our bodies as well.
Yeah, and how should we deal with the Kikis and the Karens, so they understand that they are crossing a boundary and that they need to stop?
Yeah, so I always say our boundaries aren't designed to control other people, right? Our boundaries are designed to keep us safe. So it's not our job to make people understand anything. We really have to be mindful of ourselves. So when dealing with anybody, like, that's hypervigilant or has an activated nervous system, like we talked about, our objective, like, our goal is to regulate ourselves and then communicate what we need, you know? So if you need help, like additional help with learning how to navigate that and how to deal with that, you can always reach out, you know, find a therapist, unpacking in therapy, because it's really not black and white, and it could be, you know, several underlying factors to kind of show what you're dealing with. So I would say go to my website, unettaspring.com, for resources. Follow me on social, Unetta Spring. We can have a conversation about it and kind of talk about ways to deal with it.
Love it. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, this Talking Out Tuesday segment is not meant to take the place of actually going to therapy, but it's a start. And you can always get more information on Yonetta's website at YonettaSpring.com or on Instagram at Groundbreakers Therapy. Y'all give it up and show your love right now for Yonetta Spring. Thank you so much. More of the Smiley Morning Show coming up.
It's the Rickey Smiley Morning Show.